Good evening. This is your host, Prissy, and we are live here at Bushwick Radio.
No
Yes,
doubt.
And
yes,
I am
yes.
sitting here with two New York City, New Jersey's
Jersey.
unsigned
That's right.
artists, fellas to the left of me.
Eloh Kush, Eloh Kush.
That's right.
Angels
It's your boy
INC.
JR, John Robinson. Some know him as Science of Life crew. We here.
We here. Elo,
Yes.
it's a pleasure to be in your presence.
It's a pleasure to be in your presence.
Yes, and it's a pleasure to be in your presence as well.
Appreciate
Elo, tell the people where you're from.
that. I'm from New Brunswick, New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? I'm an X&9 representative. You know, I'm up here just to do this thing right here.
That's
World
right.
traveler.
That's right.
Yo, originally I'm from the BX show, but spent a lot of time all over.
And
Jersey,
he's here with us in Brooklyn now.
Atlanta,
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, Los Angeles. You know, so yeah, I'm a traveler.
I love it. So, fellas, I want y'all to tag team me here today.
Yes, yes.
I'm going to ask, the basic questions. How did you get your start in music, Elo?
I come from a musical background, so my uncles played jazz. I was brought up on jazz. My uncle taught me how to play the trumpet when I was younger, but I diverted from that. But the culture of hip hop, we grew up inside of the culture. You know, I first seen the culture on Townsend Street in New Brunswick, and that's where my foundation is. You know, so we seen graffiti and DJ Cheese from Plainfield, which is really ironic because New Brunswick and Plainfield go to war, or used to go to war a lot.
That is correct.
But DJ Cheese is from Plainfield, and he had this 12-inch. I never forget this. On the block party, he was playing it. Like, Cheese, go off, and it was an ill joint. So that was my introduction to the culture.
Great, great. And yourself?
My introduction to the culture, definitely in the Bronx, South Bronx, Forest Ave. My great grandmother lived there. Me and my brother, our early upbringing was there. So block parties were happening. Parents really being a part of the early culture at the parties, but not really knowing that it was hip hop.
Right,
so
right. So you guys 80s, 90s, babies?
Nah.
70s?
70s, definitely.
Ah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nah, this is like years of doing this, years of experience, years of travel, and really learning the science of how to do business. I don't really call it unsigned. I call it independent.
That's
because
right.
I don't necessarily want to be signed. It's like
Me neither.
signing, in my opinion, right now, today, is giving away the ownership of all the creations and intellectual property that you're putting out there.
Right, and
Absolutely.
I agree with you. I feel like once you sign yourself over, you lose a little bit of your individuality. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
That, and you don't own your music. So a lot of the artists that we know and love who have major record deals, later, 30, 40 years down the line, they usually collect between 12 and 15% of their royalties. If you're someone like a Hove who actually owns his masters, you're getting more like in the 90 percentile of your royalties if it gets licensed to music, television, etc. And I feel like that's what young artists should be aspiring towards because they're doing all the work.
That is correct.
You know what I'm
so you
saying?
don't want to do all the work and have someone take all your bread.
Nah,
That's
that's
unfair.
That's like you sharecropping.
That's unheard of.
We're not sharecroppers. We owners and individuals that move forward to building generational legacy and wealth for our families. You know, like why am I gonna make his son rich and send him to college when my man got babies here, and we got babies and grandbabies and things that need to be added on for the next generation.
That's correct. That is correct. So, fellas, like, what inspired you guys to be artists? Like, did you just wake up or you knew that this was something that you wanted to do?
That's a great question. For me, definitely not. I would say I always take it back to like being in Queens at the time, being in Far Rock. Long story short, a classmate, his parents had like an Ashford and Simpson style group called Thomas and Taylor. They came to class one day. I'm in 5th grade. I'm 10 years old. They play a VCR tape. They wheeled out the cart.
Shout out to the VCR and
Shout out
8-track
to the
section.
VCR.
Shout out.
Yo, it was them performing in London, in Paris, in Berlin, in all these cities on stage performing to an audience. And I'm thinking in my head, I was just at your house playing video games, eating pancakes.
Right.
And you was in London last week on stage. And it just put into my brain, these are regular people. these are real people that aspire to
Do
what
major
they love.
things, right?
Yeah, exactly. But
And
do what they love because
you were able to relate to that,
I
right?
was able to relate.
You were able to say, listen, I can do that too,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So that was it.
For me, it was my uncles again. You know, their musical influence. My mother. So our big houses back in the day, you know, we had a big family, so it was always music playing.
Yes,
So you know, the time when they go in the back and they burn their herb and stuff like that.
that's right.
They leave us in the front with the
with
record
the small
players.
little reefer bags.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
So the record players, you know, I was turned out by the graphic effects first, like the Earth, Wind and Fire album covers and Parliament album covers, you know, Ohio Player album covers, right?
Right.
And then seeing my uncle showing me footage of Howlin' Wolf on stage, and showing me footage of Muddy Waters, and then learning about who Archie Shepp was, you know, getting turned out by that jazz influence to me, seeing these brothers sharp to death, but displaying an art form that's somewhere coming from their soul somewhere, you know, not necessarily no one's teaching them this, but it's just where it comes from individual. And then we always perform, you know, like there was always break dancing outside before. We always dance. Jackie Wilson, there's Michael Jackson, I mean Fred Astaire, I mean all these things were heavy influences on me.
So, you know, just to the audience, you see how these fellas are referencing like some of the old school heads. That's
Yeah.
really important to know the music history.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to do is we're going to actually fast forward, because I'm really curious as to how did you come up with your artist name?
Oh, okay.
Where did Eloh Kush? I
So-
know what Kush means, but
Right.
where did that originate?
Actually, when I was coming up, I was in transition. So I went from Young Kush, which was my original moniker because I always
The
looked
young
young,
Kush.
and then I went to Rebel because of, you know, is the time of transition and being outside in the world, and we was banging a lot, not like gang bang, but just getting into things.
Right.
And Eloh Kush is a word. Eloh comes from the word Elohim or Elohim. It means God. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so that for me was a spiritual transition where I stuck with right now. I mean, my brother Science of Life, ID and Sai, my brother Glorious right here, we all, you know, we study the same sciences and travel. So that moniker stuck with me.
And you?
Yeah. Well, me, I went full circle back to right now using my given name, John Robinson.
That's right.
After having many monikers, you know, Psy, Little Psy, the group Science of Life, etc. But I chose to use my given name. It was kind of a timely thing. I was working with a label called Shaman Work, doing a lot of business, like helping run the label. So I was using my name in business a lot, John
Okay.
Robinson, etc. And there's an artist, one of my OGs, MF Doom. I used to call his crib when I lived in Atlanta, call ID. John Robinson would pop up. One day we in a session, he's like, yo, it's wild that your name is John Robinson, because he knew me as Psy for years, you know? So he finds this dialogue about a man named John Robinson, and we do a record based around this dialogue, etc. It wasn't until after we did the record, he told me that John Robinson in the dialogue is a serial killer. Because he knew if I knew ahead of time, I would have never did that shit.
Oh,
But
wow.
that was, that record and doing business at the time is what ushered me into just saying, fuck that, I'm John Robinson, I'm JR. And then I will admit, in the beginning, you at parties, it got a little weird, walking up to people, John Robinson, John Robinson. So I just flipped it to JR, you know,
Okay.
like, yo, JR. You either know or you don't know, fuck it. I don't even care.
Right.
Straight
So
like
let's
that,
talk
huh?
a little bit about your music really quickly. What do you guys feel is like your best song to date, and why? Ah,
That's a
got
great
you
question.
shook.
Yeah, that's a great question. My best song to date, meaning as a
If you had to perform in front of a big audience, what song would you do to kill that stage?
all of them, but it depends on, you know,
Nah, that's a great
that's a
question.
great question. It is. That's hard. Like a sucker
great.
gonna answer that
It's a
right away.
great
Like you have to
question,
think
shit.
about that.
Yeah.
Crowd,
I can't choose one.
yeah,
It's
I'm
different scenarios.
absolutely, because this crowd may not be for the science I'm about to kick right here, or this crowd right here wants to hear something that's straight to their heart immediately. It's like choosing your children
Okay.
almost, you know?
All right,
That's
so
rough right
You're
there.
not gonna choose.
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
You don't have to
no,
choose,
I'ma choose.
right?
I want to choose.
You wanna
That's
choose?
an awesome question. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna say, well, shit. Last Sunday was Fat Beach's 25-year
Oh, yeah,
anniversary. Rocked our first song we ever put out on Bobito's label in '96. The Powers of Nine Ether. To me, that's not a record I would just put on for any audience, because you got to know and be there. But that audience, 25 years or, 23 years later, still rock to that joint like it was '96, and that felt good. But if I had to pick a record, period, that rocks anywhere, I would pick Respect King. Joint I did with PVD. It's live. It got a kind of like roots reggae hip hop vibe. It got a dope horn like chorus, and yeah, it's just real universal. I feel like whether you in the hood in East Flatbush all the way to Brownsville, or you from the middle of America, you could probably catch a vibe with that one.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's real.
So I could do this all night, but as you know, we're always pressed for time. And like I said, it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
Please tell the audience what you guys have upcoming in the next couple of weeks, months.
Right now, just dropped the album entitled Clark Connoisseurs with my fam Supreme Cerebral from the West Coast, produced by Clipto Beats and Joel's Whites. This album is available on all music streaming platforms, also on elohkush.com. That's ELOHKUSH.com. This album is a collaborative effort. It got my brother Glorious with me. It's got him on here. It's got ID4 Wins. We got Planet Asia on the single called Rock Candy. Banish, Jada Gift, Jabatan. So we got a lot of family on here. And the process of this album is not, every song is named after a style of Wallabies, because that's how we move. We wear Clarks all the time. And so the album is centered around the lifestyle of wearing Wallabies, not necessarily a Wallaby, just like what you do while you are rocking the actual Wallaby, you know?
No doubt.
So check that. Go get that. iTunes, Apple Music, anywhere you stream music, go get that.
Stream it, play it overnight.
Word.
Right.
Put it on repeat.
Yeah, peace to Science of Life, peace to my brother Four Winds. You know what I'm saying? It's been many, many years. We got an album we released earlier this year called Inspired by Film. It's an album that's connected to my peeps on the West Coast.
Oh, yeah.
Kenyatta, the hip-hop motivator.
Oh, yeah.
Hip-hop motivation. He has a film called The Secret to Ballin' that's featured all your favorite people like Redman and Snoop Dogg and Faith Evans and Kelly Rowland and so many other people.
Yeah.
So check out Science of Life, Inspired by Film. And also currently, top of June, I released a book with my partner Jay Rawls out in Columbus, Ohio. It's called Youth Culture Power. Hip-hop has snuck into the education sector and hacked education. Hip-hop is hacking education all over the world. The ethos of hip-hop culture is the most valuable currency, in my opinion, that damn near exists today.
Absolutely,
So
Lord.
use that. If you're tuned in to hip-hop and you're young and you got a device in your pocket, it's not a phone, it's a computer. You can create a business. Your first job should be on your device.
Absolutely.
Straight up and down. Youth Culture Power. Yo, peace. Bushwick Radio. Much
Bushwick
love.
Radio,
Fellas.
always love.
As I said, it's been a pleasure. And before I close out,
Yes.
please tell the audience what message would you send to people who are trying to follow in your footsteps?
Me, I would say deal with the laws, the 7 spiritual laws of success right now for me. And one of the ones that I'm truly absorbing all the time is the law of application and the law of intent. Make sure you set your intents before you step out into this world. Make sure you apply yourself to what it is that what your purpose is, and walk in your purpose, and understand that there ain't no part 2 to this. Live now. Do it right now,
Agreed.
Proper plan and live, because there ain't no double dutch to this. This
No
is it.
procrastination.
No doubt. And just expounding on Eloh Kush, I would say don't define success by tangible things you can grasp that could wither away in no time. No amount of money really exchanges for being happy and really experiencing life for real. So I feel like if you're successful, you should be happy too. If you're not happy, you're not successful. Find happiness in whatever you're doing. That should be the goal.
Thank you. Thank the both of
Thank
you.
you. Thank you,
It's been a
Bushwick Radio.
pleasure. It's been a great
Bushwick
evening.
Radio, family.
I look forward to hearing more of you guys. This is Prissy signing off Bushwick Radio Live.
Peace.
We here.
Peace.
You are now listening to Bushwick Radio, the online radio leader in urban music.